everybody. You are watching Beyond the Highlights, and I'm riding solo today. My two hosts, Jason Strayhorn and Vern Lundquist Crump, are unavailable, but we have a special guest today. We have professional wrestler Terry Gerin, who is known as Rhino.
Yes.
Nice of you to join us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Local hero. Grew up in the area.
Oh, well. A lot of people say hero or legend, or now that I'm approaching the 20-year anniversary, so the legend starts to get thrown around, which I'm a little uncomfortable. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're a celebrity." I'm just one of the guys from one of the kids from the neighborhood.
But you are a celebrity. I remember watching you. So tell us a little bit about where you grew up, where you came from, a little bit how you got into wrestling.
South Dearborn Heights. Grew up on Gertrude Street, and just started watching wrestling, Hulkamania. Grabbed a hold of me, and
who can forget?
A lot of the kids in the neighborhood, and just.
I went to WrestleMania 3.
Did you really?
Silverdome.
I so wanted to go there.
I was there.
Yeah, that was actually. I think it still holds the indoor record.
93,000. I remember.
Yeah, and you're
Don't
part
tell
of
anybody
history.
that.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a great time, and it was just one of those things. Hulkamania grabbed a hold of, us and a lot of people around the world, and just one thing led to another, and something I chased after a dream, like what it's like chasing after a dream and playing on the football field and stuff like that. So yeah, and then just love,
So tell us about your first match. What league were you in? Who found you? How did that happen?
That was. Do you remember your first football game?
I do. Mustangs. When I was in 4th grade.
Mustangs. That's Dearborn, right?
Yeah, I was in 4th grade.
I played for the Dearborn Heights Redskins.
Yeah, the Redskins.
It was actually on Dearborn High.
Okay.
Football field.
All
yeah.
right.
Oh, I remember it like it was yesterday.
So do I. Never forget.
I didn't know what I was doing, even though we practiced.
Neither did I.
Yeah. But I can't remember if it was junior varsity. I can't remember if we won or lost, but it was a great time. But you remember a lot of your firsts and stuff like that. As far as I remember my first wrestling match in high school, and then I remember my first pro match. It was in.
Tell me about your first pro match.
Yeah,
Windsor.
Yeah, Windsor and great community center. I believe it's torn down now, which is very unfortunate because my 20-year anniversary is coming up March 10th of 2015. So I'm thinking about doing a show or something like that, a benefit show, and donating the money to something. So.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Heard it first right here.
Heard it.
Yeah.
So tell us about your time in the WWE. I mean, a lot of us that don't really understand the circuit, we've heard of WWE. I remember NWA.
Yep.
But everything's now is mostly WWE. The WCW is now defunct. WWE, Vince McMahon.
I'll be your Ed McMahon on this show.
So tell us when you were in the WWF, WWE. How was Vince McMahon? How were the guys? How was it? We're touring. How long were you there for?
I was there for a little under 5 years, and it was a lot of fun. On the road every weekend, usually 4 to 5 days. You come home for a day and a half, sometimes 2.5 days. That one half of the day was spent traveling home. So then when you got home, you'd have to do some media stuff over the phone and calling and stuff like that. So, but it was a lot of fun, especially in your early 20s or mid 20s, I should say mid to late 20s. There's definitely experience, to be traveling on the road. And, and when you're traveling, having an open mind, listening to people, and fans and, just people all around the country and, all around the world. It was definitely a learning experience.
So were you touring with The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, some of the bigger names, Ric Flair, were they part of the tour that you were on?
Yeah, Rock, Stone Cold, Kane, Undertaker.
Kane, yeah.
Oh, I learned from some of the best, and I'm just getting in, as far as the WWE. I was already wrestling for, I want to say 8 years by the time I went to WWE.
Wow, I mean, Undertaker's
great
athlete for his size.
And then Kurt Angle, even though he started in '99, he picked it up he picked it up really quick.
He was he was actually a world champion in wrestling.
Yeah, Olympic gold
medalist. Yeah.
And what's pretty cool is he has his Olympic gold medal out on his desk at his house, and so when his neighbors come over or friends or or their kid, they bring their kids over, he lets them put it on and take a picture with it. Yeah, so you don't have it locked up in a vault.
That's cool.
So I tried to steal it once or twice.
Did you?
But yeah, he always caught me at the door.
What kind of guy is The Rock? It's always
really
my
cool.
favorite. Rock. I love The Rock. I love Ric Flair too.
Yeah. The Rock he's really professional.
He's kind of gone Hollywood on us, though. He's not.
Yeah. Some people say he's gone soft too out in Hollywood, but no, he's a good dude. He's very professional. I remember the first time he came back to. He filmed the first movie, The Scorpion, not The Scorpion King, but he played the character, and he was supposed to wrestle Booker, but Booker's knee was a little messed up. They had to drain it. It was full of fluid.
Booker T.
Booker T. Yeah.
Booker T.
Another
that's
great
right.
guy.
Yeah.
One of my best matches with Booker T.
I remember Booker T.
Yeah. So The Rock and I, they go, oh, Rhino, you're gonna wrestle The Rock, and I was only in the company for like 6 months, and I'm like, all right, a little nervous, but we're talking in the back, and he's got the nicest watch, diamonds all over Rolex, and I wanted to say, hey, that's a nice watch, but and he's getting into it and stuff, and he's going, yeah, I'll do this or I'll do that, and we'll work this, and I'm thinking, okay, slow down, Rock, and I'm just watching him. Like, he had a couple Red Bulls before he got here, but heck of a guy, and I never put over the watch because with my luck it would have went missing and they would have came looking at me.
You.
Thing had to cost at least $60,000. I'm thinking, man, that'll buy a car or two for me.
A couple houses even.
Yeah, really.
So did you ever wrestle on Monday Night Nitro Raw?
Oh, Raw, yeah, several times. Raw was
were those taped back then, or were they?
No.
Some were live, right? Or
they were live
when they were going head to head.
Yeah,
with
when
WCW.
they were going head to head. Good memory. Yeah.
Don't tell anybody that.
Yeah, they would do a live show and then they would tape. They would go live every other week. So what happened is when they were going head to head, Eric Bischoff would know the results for the taped show, and then he would tell everybody the results for the tape show because they were going live every week.
And Eric Bischoff was WCW.
Yeah,
he was the script writer, the mastermind.
He was like the CEO and
he's
stuff
like the mastermind behind the NWO and the New World
and he
Order.
was the booker and all that stuff. And so what he would do is he would just stooge off the matches, who won and who lost because they weren't live. It was taped. It's like, so no need to tune into them. Watch our live show tonight. Yeah, I think they would start off WCW Nitro with telling the finishes for.
I remember that. That was like late '90s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember that.
Attitude Era.
It was just brilliant when Hogan came out as a heel and just first time ever. Well, in 20 years was a heel.
Yeah.
It was just brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the way they did that was just. They had Sting coming from the rafters.
Yeah.
I think I'm more excited than you are right now.
Yeah.
I just remember. I remember we used to love watching.
Yeah.
We loved it so much.
I actually had the opportunity to wrestle Sting, do a little program with him in TNA, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. Their show is called Impact Wrestling.
So you're right now. You're touring with TNA. You're on their independent circuit.
And doing some work with TNA. I'm not under contract, which is nice. So I can kind of do my own thing. I can. The freedom's very nice, but
getting booked harder.
Or if you want to take a weekend off, you can. But I usually like going on the road. I do a lot of seminars and stuff. I'm sure you work with a lot of the youth and stuff and football and explaining the art of it and the science too.
Let's get to that for a second. I mean, I know it's entertainment, but. You got pretty big guys that are tremendous athletes, jumping,
especially
flipping,
when they're landing on you.
It's people don't realize. Yeah. You got 6'7", 300-pound guys that got great feet, great, and it's an art not to hurt somebody.
Yeah, that is the art.
That's the art, is not to hurt somebody.
Sounds like this guy's been in the wrestling ring a few times.
No, not at all.
You sure, bro?
Not at all. Yeah. I just remember that 2020 special. Remember when the first time in the late '80s. Mid '80s, when they came out and said wrestling was fake, and then McMahon sent out Dr. D. David Schultz.
What's he mean, Bob?
I know it was. This was on 2020 or 99.
Okay.
And McMahon sent out John Stossel sent out Dr. D. David Schultz. Mm-hmm. He told him this reporter wants to know if wrestling's fake, and he went out there and he started smacking him. Is that fake?
Yeah.
Is that fake?
Yeah.
I remember that when I was a kid. That's
a lot of. I didn't see that. That was right before I started watching wrestling. But I seen the clip, and I guess Schultz, he was the one that had the idea for WrestleMania.
That was his idea, huh?
Like a big show at the end of the year, like all the stories go on to one. Yeah. There's a little wrestling trivia for you, but just for the record, it's only fake when I lose, but when I win, it's great.
But tell us, have you had any injuries?
Yeah, I had neck surgery back in 2001, cervical fusion, C6, C7. They took bone from my hip, put it in there, took the disc out, obviously, and then put a plate with 8 screws. What they do is they drill the bone from your hip.
I mean, you're talking about it like you pulled a tooth.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty serious.
A lot of guys, they'll come to me and they'll ask me about their neck is messed up, and they went and had an MRI, and they're like, oh, I have a diseased disc. Well, what level? I don't know. What do you mean? And I'm like, that's the first thing I did. I started researching it, and then when I had the MRI done on the road, I think it was October 24th, because Monday I'm like, okay, the pain's not going away. You know, dealing with pain and stuff like that. And,
yeah, that's a different kind of pain, though.
Yeah, but, you know, it usually goes away and you work through it. And then it wasn't getting any better. And then when I lost strength in my one arm, I knew it was a disc.
Wow.
So we did Monday Night Raw, and then SmackDown was taped on the Tuesday. They still do that. And then I said, hey, can we get it looked at? And they go, yeah, sure, no problem. That was Monday. And then Tuesday I had an appointment for an MRI and an x-ray. And then the doctor came down to look at it. And then Vince was looking at it, and Stone Cold was looking at it too. Austin's like, oh yeah, because he knew, he learned about it.
He had a ton of neck surgery.
Yeah, he had, he found the doctor down in Texas.
He's from there, isn't he?
Yep, yeah, San Antonio. And anyways, yeah.
Don't tell anybody I know all this stuff. Jeez, all right.
But yeah, he was looking at it, and the doctor's like, yeah, you're gonna, because the doctor came down to a doctor came down to the show that night, and he's like, yeah, you can't do anything in the ring. You're gonna need neck surgery.
Wow.
And it was really bad. And Vince talked to me and everything, and then finally went down and seen the doctor in San Antonio. I want to say 3 days later, and then he said, go home and we'll get you back in November 2nd. So within under 2 weeks, I had neck surgery. I found out I needed it, and I had it. So that was pretty good health insurance. So, but they took care of everything.
So speaking of Vince McMahon, I mean, it's been well documented. There's been a lot of wrestlers that have OD'd, died, killed themselves. You know, there's a perception that he doesn't take care of the people, that he just churns them and burns them onto the next guy, strictly a business, treats them like cattle. What was your experience like with Vince McMahon?
It was great, you know, and I'm glad you brought that up, because you know, just like any industry, you know, and I know a lot of people that work for I'm sure you do too, for Ford Motor Company or GM, and they have a good wellness program. If people you know, they get into alcohol abuse, or they abuse alcohol or drugs, they have a program where they can go get them help, you know, and the company takes care of it and stuff like that. And you know, even if it's the second time them going, the first time didn't take, they're supportive with you know, their employees. Same thing with Vince, you know, the wellness program and stuff like that. They drug test they drug test all the guys a lot, and for, you know, anything, or if they notice they have an alcohol problem, they drug test a lot, because a lot of those guys look like they're sauced up. I'll tell you, I'm not going to mention any names. This one guy, yeah, I seen him. I went to his show. This is a couple of years ago, and he put it this way: he inhaled, and he got the munchies. So you know what substance I'm talking about. So. Well, reference.
No, what is it?
Yeah. But anyways, so once you test positive for a drug or something, they test you all the time. And he's like, you know, they find you and then they test you every week, you know, and that, you know, stays in your system for I think 30 days. But yeah, so he was upset, you know. He's like, because you have to literally in front of a doctor. You know, there's no turning around. There's no shirt over your head, pants down to the ground. That's for PEDs as well, performance-enhancing drugs, or just marijuana? Everything. Opiates, marijuana, all that stuff. Yeah. So it's one of those things where you know, you deal with it. You know, and as a company, they did grow. But when I worked there, I was never told you need to lose weight, you need to get bigger, you need to get. You're talking for Vince McMahon, WWF, or any promotion I've actually wrestled for, and I'm not out there to protect wrestling in any way, shape, or form, because anything I could say has not been said before. People say, oh, I was told to do this, this, and this. And I'm always the person to look at the source, listen to both sides of the story, and then come up with a conclusion on your own. And they were also, Vince was also the one that chartered, uncharted waters before. So as far as, and as the company grew, and as the performers became stars, a lot of things were introduced to them, by outside parties that were never introduced, because next thing you know, everybody wants to be your friend the more successful you become.
Everybody.
Yeah, and then they're like, hey, do this, or hey, do that. Oh, you just got off a flight, you haven't slept, you need to go there, take this,
It's just a,
yeah.
if you, how many nights, 200 nights a year on the road or more?
Oh, more than that, yeah.
Wow.
I literally, I think it was last week, I drove down to, right outside of Pittsburgh. It was 6.5 hour drive. Did the show, drove back through the night by myself, took a shower, washed my gear, jumped on the plane, went down to Florida, couldn't check into the hotel because it was too early. They didn't have any rooms ready. Went to the building anyways, slept on the floor for an hour, and then, which was a very well-interrupted nap.
Wow.
And
This is recent, huh?
Yeah, this was a couple weeks ago. And then I slept for 20 minutes on the plane because there was a movie and I wanted to watch. It was Cops, or Want to Be Cops. It was a new comedy that just came out.
Ferrell?
No, I forget the actors' names. But anyways, it was. I know which one you're talking about. But it was on the plane, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, I need to get some sleep, but I couldn't sleep. And then I finally slept for 20 minutes. Then we landed, and then got to the building, got an hour of sleep, and then did the show. Didn't get to the hotel till 1 o'clock. And then I had to be up in 3 hours to catch a flight home.
Oh, Lord.
And then I landed, I got home, got in the car, and then went to church. And then I went home, and I think I fell asleep 2 hours after that. So
So how many days a week are you wrestling, traveling now?
usually anywhere from 1 to 4, So
it just
sometimes
depends.
I'll go on tour and, for like 8 days up in Canada or something, So the nice thing about it is now is you get to help the youth out, So the younger kids that are, I call them youth, these kids. And then you look at, isn't it funny sometimes when you're helping the younger generation out, you look at them and you're like, don't they get it? But you were in that same spot, And I remember when Rick Martel was talking to us, and
Rick
do
the
this.
Model.
Oh yeah, Rick the Model Martel, great guy. And I was
Arrogance was his perfume. Arrogance.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I remember. See, and maybe I should be on that side, and you come over on this side.
Jeez, Pete. I don't. Okay, so what about Rick Martel?
Yeah, he was telling us, and then we had the opportunity to wrestle in the ring. My job here is just to see how many times we can make Bob laugh. Bob's the gentleman behind the
I think I'm more excited than you are. I love all these old names, these old wrestlers.
Yeah. Do you remember Outback Jack? He was from Australia.
I remember the Bushwhackers.
Yeah. I've worked with Luke several times. Yeah, they were the sheep herders before, and then they worked in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico was a big territory for wrestling with Carlos Colon, and they used to sell out stadiums.
I don't.
Yeah. Did you watch wrestling before? Did you watch big time wrestling with Dick the Bruiser, the Sheik?
I just missed that.
I
just got in.
Yeah.
The original Sheik.
Yep.
Who's from Williamston, who passed away. Is that the original? That's the original Sheik.
Yeah. And he actually owned Big Time Wrestling. People didn't know.
It was right before. Was that Big Time? What was the difference between Big Time and NWA?
Yeah, NWA.
They were different?
Yeah, because what happened is...
George Animal Steel was with...
Yeah, with Big Time Wrestling before.
Yeah.
But what happened is wrestling before was just territories, and nobody went into other territories. And then Vince's dad owned the New England area. That was his territory. And then Vince and his wife, see, what people don't realize is his wife was just as important to WWF and WWE
she was
as
brilliant.
Vince. And they went
Linda
at
McMahon.
Yes, Linda McMahon. And they went at it together. This was a business venture on both parts. Because if it wasn't for Linda, there wouldn't be a Vince, and vice versa. So people... she was always working in the office. She was always doing, and it wasn't, and they were a great team, and what happened is they had a vision of going like having a national product, and then eventually, you know.
So it didn't go national.
Probably
early '80s.
Yeah, probably about '84.
When Hulk Hogan was coming on.
Oh yeah. See, a lot of people don't realize because he was in the AWA at first, and then that was
he was.
Gagne. Yeah, that was Vern Gagne in the.
Did he go by Terry Bollea or Hulk Hogan?
When he first started out, he wrestled under his real name.
Terry, right?
Yeah, and then I think, but then he became the Incredible Hulk Hogan in the AWA wrestling.
And then Thunderlips and Rocky.
Oh yeah,
Rocky
that was probably
2, 3.
Yeah, did he do anything after that? It was actually Rocky 3. I remember watching that as a kid.
Me too. I was like, who's this guy? And then he won the I thought he got popular because of that.
Oh really? Yeah.
That's as a kid.
Yeah, I actually I remember I was a big fan Hulkamania, and we got a VCR in '86 or '87.
No, he won the title in '83.
Yeah. No, but see, I never watched Rocky, so we
never watched Rocky. Gotcha.
So the Hulkamania took off and everything, and then I watched Rocky 3, and I'm like, wait a second, he's a bad guy. This is unheard of.
Yeah, he was a heel at first.
And I understood it was a movie, but I was in denial.
Was he champion already before he went to Rocky 3 or no?
No, what happened is when they started filming it, he's talked about it, and I heard him, I think it was an interview, that he wrestled for Vince's dad, and I think at the same time or something, and then they didn't want him to go do the movie. And he said, well, this is a good opportunity for me. So he parted ways with back then it was the WWWF. So then, like, he figured, okay, well, you know, I burned my bridge, and then he just worked for AWA. And then when Vince McMahon Linda bought the company from his dad and his dad's partner, they called up Hulk Hogan and said, hey, we'd like to do business with you. So then he went back there, and he thought he was only going to be there for a year or two.
You know, people don't understand how complicated it is to keep coming up with these storylines, keeping people engaged. It's like a soap opera. In essence.
Back then it was a lot.
It wasn't the plot wasn't as complicated.
You know what? Back then, it was easier to follow. You know, now it just...
You can. If you don't watch it now, you can't just turn the TV on. Like last night, didn't it? Was it live? Raw was last night?
Yeah, live. Raw was live from Detroit.
You can't just turn it on and watch it if you're not, you know, unless you want to see people flip around. But you need to know the storylines.
Yeah, and then you only had 4 pay-per-views a year. So you have to look at both sides. Now there's 12, you know,
once a month. Wow, is that many?
And, you know, then you had, you know, like 3 or 4 months to build to a pay-per-view. You know, now it's like you're cramming things in. And even in '99 and 2000 when I wrestled for ECW, we only had 4 pay-per-views a year.
Who owned ECW?
Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman.
And like people, like the internet, they would bury the storylines, because during the Attitude Era with WCW and WWE, well, WWF, the Raw's War, they started moving the storylines faster. So that's when it really
nobody
came.
could.
So they were always competing. That's why everything moved so fast. And ECW was still doing it slow, and they only had 4 pay-per-views a year, so they could do that.
But they didn't have a large market share back then, like.
When they went on Spike, but there was just a small independent company, you know, that they were drawing maybe 75 people. And
McMahon now is publicly traded, the big.
Oh
money.
yeah,
I mean,
I think in '99 he went.
Yeah, he went public. I mean, he's big money.
Became a billionaire overnight.
Overnight. Done a great job.
What
a great. So tell me some of the stuff you're doing with the youth now.
You know, it's just working, well, as far as wrestling and independent shows, seminars, you know, trying to educate them how to get the fans emotionally invested into them, do's and don'ts, you know, what your job, you know, is to, you know, take care of that guy in the ring. You know, obviously you're going to get beat up and banged up, but you don't want to drop someone on your head or on their head, and just stuff like that, and common sense, you know, because sometimes I'll look at some of the guys and I'll scratch my head. It's like, you're 25 and this is common sense. And then I think it's like it's like every generation they look back, you know, and they're like, oh,
me too,
yeah, and
all
then,
the time.
And then you see, you know, like for that one person that's not dealing with common sense on an issue, you got 3 or 4 that do. So then you're like, there's hope for this generation coming up.
It just makes you appreciate, you know, when you see kids getting make a mistake, you know, you're like, hey, I was there before.
Yeah, exactly.
I did it, you know,
and that's what you have to realize. You were there before, and, you know, and sometimes, you know, and as long as you learn from your mistake, you know, and correct it, then it's not a mistake, you know.
Everybody, remember, everybody in life was given a second chance. Everybody made mistakes, you know.
Not me, Bob.
Oh, good. Well, of course, not you. Hey, Rhino, pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you for having me. We got to go to a Michigan State game.
Anytime you want. You're more than welcome. Come on up. But let me just tell you, that stuff's real up there.
Oh, I know. Well, I heard you guys go out to bars afterwards and have
Not me, not me. Anyway, thank you for joining us. You're watching Beyond the Highlights. I am your host, Brian Mossallam, and with today's guest, Terry Gerin, professional wrestler known as Rhino. Thank you, and good night.